Well, hello. This is gonna be a very short one, a short episode. I just wanna um get a mini rework Ryze here now. In a perfect world, I'd also change his passive and some of his abilities to be a little more fun. One of the ideas I played around with is having no cooldowns on his abilities, instead only using mana, but like a lot of mana. And then the idea is you can like have different combos, like back to the old system of where the first E would be a single target, and the second E would spread it. Now, because there is no cooldown, then it's much simpler and it's easier to use, which is the reason they kind of removed it, even though it was like a really cool idea. It was less balanced. But with this new system, then that makes better. And now, like ability haste would be translated into mana instead, because obviously you don't use ability haste, and there will be like some other combos, like you do E would like stun in a long circle. Now, once again, that will pretty much take all your mana, because the more it kind of works like the Cassidin, where the more abilities you use, the more mana it takes. Maybe that could be cooldown reduction. Like the cooldown reduction would like make the make it shorter. Like maybe there's a timer of like the next ability would cost more mana, but then the time runs out and then it goes back to normal. But then a cooldown reduction, it reduces that amount. That could actually work instead of giving more mana. But like I always struggled with what to do with the ult. Now, this idea is basically just an ult change. Once again, in a perfect world, the passive, there's some of the other abilities, but I think like you could take the ult change face value without the other changes and it would work. So yeah, the ult change is very, very simple. Instead of being a teleport, Ryze channels for like a second and goes into like a stasis. It's called realm warp, so it's kind of it always weirded me out. That's the name, but then like it makes sense. He goes into a different realm, so he's like untargetable. It's like a Zhonya's hourglass, except instead of being instant, it's it's a second channel, and he goes into stasis. It could also work like a Bard ult, where he and some other people go to stasis. Obviously, if you stun him, you can take him out of it or stuff like that. No, maybe not. Maybe like you have to actually take him out of the circle, but it's like a very small circle. So you have to like take him out of this small circle in a second. So just stunning him won't do it, but like if you move him away, then that works. Something along those lines. Once again, that's up to balancing. And obviously, it has a long cooldown, and the passive stays the same. This is a very, very simple change that makes Ryze actually playable in lower rank games, because right now he doesn't have an ult. Like, playing Ryze is playing without an ult. Unless you're playing at the top of competitive, where you can actually use his ult with your team. He just doesn't have an ult. You maybe use it once or twice throughout the entire game, and even then it's just to come back to the lane faster, which you already take teleport. Seriously, in my opinion, this is a way, way, way better idea. Now, I know it's kind of a cop-out, and it's not that interesting, and it's not like a unique mechanic or anything. It's just a very simple mechanic where he just goes into stasis, but it really helps his kit. Like, if you really think about it, the reason, like, because Zhonya is already, like, really good on him, it really helps his kit. Also, that means he can build another items, because in a lot of games, you'll just be able to skip out on buying his Zhonyas. So it's actually a massive buff for him, especially in low ranks. Now, in high ranks, this might be a bit too overpowered, which once again causes problems, so he might need like a nerf, because it's a way bigger buff than some people might think, since he's really balanced right now and not having an ultimate. So maybe like a small nerf, maybe like increase some of the mana on his abilities or something like that. Since once again he will be able to buy like another item rather than Sonya's, which is a bigger buff than it sounds. It really is a bigger buff than it sounds. You can still like buy Zhonya's with it, then you have like two stasis, which is why I think it's gonna be like really broken and competitive. But like what's her name? Stupid Frost. Lissandra already has that, so it's not that much of a big nerf. Also, it might be like shorter than Azonia's. Maybe it's like a second or a second and a half stasis. Maybe it could be even like shorter, like instead of like a second stasis, or I think some uses 2.5 seconds. So instead of like a 2 seconds, it's like a very short, it's like half a second, but it removes like everything from him. Obviously, if there's like damage or CC or something like that, or some kind of an effect on him, it just removes everything, including like damage over time and ignite and stuff like that. So then you have to use it more defensively, like, but it could also be like instant. The stays instant instead of having the second channel. So different ideas. Both of these work. But if you ask me, the first, like, going with the other changes that I want to have them, where he has no cooldowns, even better. But that's like a full on rework. This is like a tiny change. Like it's like a small rework that would really help him out, and then balance around that. Like in my opinion, that's a way better situation. Because right now, like, Ryze is not dipped over 50% win rate in 6 years. Yeah, there's a good video out there that explains the whole situation. Like, apparently there's some actual Ryze players that are throwing ranked games, so Riot would have to like make a response. Like, it's gone that bad, and like, if you ask me, when a champion gets to that point where like he is forced to throw games to get a balance, like, Riot, you have to do something. Like, it's insane how stupid it has been for Ryze mains. Like, I'm not a Ryze main. I play him a lot, but I'm not a Ryze main. I'm technically a jungle main. Like, if I wasn't a jungle main, I'd probably have like Ryze as my second main. I'd probably play like Vlad and Ryze like every time. But I am a jungle main, so I don't do that. So, but like, yeah. But I feel the pain. I feel the Ryze main pain. It's stupid how Riot like treats these people. Like, I get it. He's overpowered in competitive play. But this is what you do. You have to make a change. Something that would actually make him playable in lower ranks. And that's it. This is it. This is that change. The ultimate. It's always been the problem with Ryze. Always, 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 always. Having an ultimate that is balanced around having to coordinate with your team is bad. It's really bad. It's toxic for the game, since it creates this opportunity where a champion is broken in competitive play while being completely unplayable. And I'm not just saying that. Like, a lot of times for champions like some champions that like go under 50%. Sometimes Akali goes under 50%, and Lee Sin and these champions that like are hard to play and require a lot of skill. Azir is a perfect example. Like, for example, when Azir was like, even when Azir was bad, like before they buffed him and the durability changers, which made him like completely broken, people were saying he's unplayable. He wasn't. He requires a lot of skill, but if you're good at him, then yes, you can play him. Like, if you're good with Azir, then you can win games. It goes the same for like champions like what's his name? Jace, where he often sit on 47% win rate, and that's considered balanced for him because he's kind of skilled. He's a very weird champion that absolutely requires to like, I wouldn't say he's like a hard to play champion, because I don't think a lot of his mechanics are like complex, but the reason like I'm saying this is because he absolutely needs to be ahead, and if not, then like he will lose the game. So, and more often, like, he have a lower win rate, which is balance. That's considered balance. It's the same with Renekton and other champions that do the same, even though Renekton is also not hard. With Ryze, it's not the same. With Ryze, he's actually almost unplayable in lower ranks because your team will never coordinate around your ult, which means you are playing with one hand behind your back. The entire game, you are playing level 5. Your ult only gives you a bonus of damage, which is fine, but like, no. This will absolutely fix it. Yes, it will require more changes and require more balancing, especially if Ryze wants to take the full rework, like actually give him some changes, but that's obviously in an ideal world. I'm only giving this change as a face value, like just the alt change. That's